It is sunny, it is hot, and it's only Monday. Hey everyone, I'm Darrell Winning, your chief meteorologist at Central Oregon Daily News, and across the high desert, we're starting this work week with temperatures that are way above average for this time of the year. Not quite record-breaking, but still mid to upper 90s, some locations even flirting with triple digits. Now, through this week, and even going into this weekend, a huge shift in our weather pattern is expected, so we're about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast, talk about the changes we've already seen today and what comes next, and then when our next chance of thunderstorm activity is and why that's sticking around for a little bit longer. So a lot to talk about. Let's just jump right into it. This is a view of Central Oregon from different cameras and different camera networks all across our Tri-County area. And each one of these cameras shows the pretty much similar conditions, but each one helps paint the picture a little bit more clearly as well. And across Central Oregon, we do have a whole lot of blue out there. There are some clouds, but what we also see is a little bit of haze in several of these cameras. That haze is smoke from a fire just north of Medford, and we are continuing to track the development of that fire, but it's just out of Central Oregon, really just bringing us the impacts of smoke. And when we focus on some of the Oregon Hazards Lab cameras, these ones are from the Oregon Hazard Lab at University of Oregon and all across Central Oregon, and each one shows a little bit of that haze. Each one also shows a lot of cloud cover that has moved into the area, but it's still mostly sunny. It's a partly cloudy. So let's talk about the haze. The reason I'm calling it haze and not specifically smoke is it's not really impacting our air quality too much. What we're looking at right now is two different air quality monitoring networks. The first one is that base layer. That's from airnow.gov, and it's the hourly average. It shows everything in the green, good air quality. All those little dots, those are real-time sensors from East Space Labs. It's a small business in Bend, Oregon that has these air quality monitoring stations throughout the Tri-County area, and those are also showing good air quality. But there's one more we can check on. That additional one, these are a little harder to see, but there are more of them, and that's the Purple Air Network. A lot of us know this. This is on the Watch Duty app, as well as Purple Air has their own app, but what it's showing is with winds coming out of the west, a little bit more smoke is being pulled over the Cascades, and we have some sensors that are showing moderate air quality. The kicker with this one is that the Purple Air sensors are a little more sensitive. They show real-time data, and so a lot more fluctuations are expected with this network, and sometimes it overdoes it just a little bit. There are a handful of sensors in some of the locations that are, like in Bend, that are showing red or unhealthy. Those are just outliers. Yeah, with this one, you really have to look at what the bulk of the data is showing you. But a lot of this is because of that fire that's just to the north of Medford. Now, I'm going to reposition this camera because we're going to take a tour across the state. There is a series of fires, in fact 3 different fires between Grant County and just outside of halfway between almost Baker City and Pendleton. Those aren't the ones that are bringing us this smoke across Central Oregon today. In fact, what we're actually seeing is smoke from a different fire, and that fire is just outside of Medford. Now, the bulk of that smoke plume is going to the north towards Roseburg, but we're also still going to be impacted by it here through the overnight hours. And you see Medford, you see Grants Pass, look just north of Eagle Point, and that's where the bulk of that fire is. That's where the actual fire is, and the bulk of the smoke is going to the north. Now, when it comes to satellite and radar, there's not much in the way of cloud cover. There's very little in the way of precipitation across the entire state, but where we have it, it's just showers. We have no actual thunderstorm activity that has developed or anything. And so we are continuing to track this, but for the most part, we are dry across the high desert. Now, going forward through the next couple of days, that is going to change. And this is a view of a different satellite imagery. This is infrared instead of a blend of visible and infrared like I was just showing you. And what I did was I pulled out the colder cloud tops so you could really see where we have tall clouds. So everything that's happening over Central Oregon this afternoon, or over Eastern Oregon and South Central Oregon this afternoon and evening, all of that is just some of the light cloud cover coming from this plume of moisture. And this plume of moisture is the monsoonal moisture that I was talking about late last week that was going to be coming in around this time. And there is a little bit more of that, as well as more heat over California and Nevada. All of that continues to push into the Pacific Northwest, and this is the main reason for our thunderstorm risk during the next couple of days. Outside of that, over Central Oregon, we do have some of these white lines, these isobars, are tightening up just a little bit, and that means winds are becoming breezy. We'll talk about winds here in a couple more minutes. But your forecast model shows that where we've had this cloud cover today, that actually starts to thin out, but don't get too fooled because we're looking at in and out clouds through the overnight hours. Then freeze frame Tuesday at 7 a.m., and we still have more cloud cover. But this is when we start to see that little shift in our weather pattern. So I'm going to actually take this little by little and make it to where we can go back and forth and slow it down when we need to. So by noon, we still have just more clouds. We're going from mostly sunny to partly cloudy. Then shortly after noon, we start to see some shower development on the high desert. Notice that a couple of these cells are yellow or orange, and this is indicative of the potential for thunderstorm activity, a little bit of convection, and we could be seeing some higher DBZ, some higher rainfall returns on radar, and the risk of thunderstorm activity tomorrow mostly holds off until the evening, late afternoon going into the evening. And when those cells get bright red, or I should say dark red, that's where we have the stronger thunderstorms. And that's going to be coming up from the east slopes of the Cascades right into Central Oregon, almost up the 97 corridor. And then by Wednesday, we start off with some clearing by the afternoon, scattered showers, some thunderstorms develop. And so pretty much the same pattern is expected. And that pattern takes us all the way into Thursday. Now, that was a high-resolution forecast model. We have a couple more that I'm going to have a little bit later on in this deep dive into your forecast. But just know that at this point, both Tuesday and Wednesday carry this risk of thunderstorm activity. And the SPC puts out an outlook a couple times a day, every day. And the most recent one puts Central Oregon in that risk of thunderstorms. Now, the category shows nothing severe as expected, but thunderstorms are in the forecast for South Central, and Eastern Oregon. The closest risk, marginal risk of severe weather is way off to the east, mostly over Montana, a little bit over Idaho. Then fast forward to Wednesday, and there's almost a bullseye right over South Central and Central Oregon, and that's where we have another risk of some thunderstorm activity. One more forecast model for you. This one is not the one we typically use on air every night. That is a proprietary model for the people that run the weather system, but this one is the High Resolution Rapid Refresh Model, and it has a lightning product on it. What that is showing us is that through Tuesday after 7 a.m., there's a chance during the midday and afternoon hours that some thunderstorms pop up where you're seeing those red blurs on the map, and nothing too intense until you get to about 7 p.m. That's when we could be looking at some frequent lightning strikes going right up the 97 corridor, and then by Tuesday night that settles down a little bit, but we have another chance by the time we get to Wednesday. So through Tuesday and Wednesday, we not only have a chance of thunderstorms, but we also run the risk of dry thunderstorm activity. And it's not going to be completely dry with these thunderstorms. However, it's going to be low precipitation thunderstorm cells. And what that means is that when you have abundant lightning strikes and not much in the way of precipitation, some fires could start, and the backup moisture isn't there to help put that fire out. So that's something we're going to be tracking for any fire starts or fire spread through Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we have a low risk of this same thing happening on Thursday before we really clear out and that next heating trend begins. Outside of that, one of the reasons we're really focused on this is it is very dry. It's not single digits for percentages, but it is still teens and a few 20s on the map. Now, this is critically dry weather, and when winds become breezy, any fires that start are likely to spread rapidly. Well, around thunderstorm activity, typically you have outflow gusts, and that combined with the critically dry air, combined with the already almost cured surface fuels, it could spell some disaster pretty quickly. Oh, look at that. We have triple digits on the map. This is a look back at the last 24 hours for highs, and we were waiting on some of the final numbers to come in. Warm Springs hit triple digits. The rest of Central Oregon, 90s, but still 97 in Bend, 95 in Redmond and Madras, and it's just been a hot day across Central Oregon, and still at 100 degrees in Warm Springs, but here through the next couple of hours, temperatures start to come back down. Winds really don't start to taper until we get around and after sunset. So in the last 24 hours, temperatures are running between 5 and 10 degrees warmer than this time yesterday for the most part. There are a couple outliers up there. Now, for tonight, we cool back into the 50s, and then we heat right back up through the day tomorrow. So it's going to be a warm evening with tapering winds around and after sunset, then a cool to mild start to the day tomorrow. followed by bringing the heat again through Tuesday afternoon. On top of that, our UV intensity actually dips down just a little bit. And the reason for that is when you have additional cloud cover that filters the sunshine out a little bit, but it's not going to be overcast. So it's down still in that very high range for a couple of days, but down to an 8 instead of a 10. Either way, if you're spending time outdoors, you need to do three things. Number one, stay hydrated. Number two, use that sunscreen. Don't go out there without the protection for your skin. And number three, if thunder roars, go indoors. If you hear a thunderstorm around you, take it inside. Seek shelter. We're not looking at anything severe, but some of those cells could be capable of producing abundant lightning and small hail. Meanwhile, when we go forward through the next several days between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., we're going to be set up in the middle of a low pressure offshore and a high pressure over Idaho, Montana, getting down into Nevada and Utah. Now, what that typically does is low pressure has the counterclockwise rotation and high pressure has a clockwise rotation. That is forming almost a little conveyor belt of moisture coming from the subtropics right into the Pacific Northwest. That's why we have higher moisture content. When you add the higher moisture content to the temperature, that's almost like thunderstorm fuel. And the next couple of afternoons, some thunderstorms are going to be possible, but temperatures come back down to near average for this time of the year. Then they start to turn back around by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Heating trend sets up. So let's look at your forecast model. This does show that through the overnight hours, some in and out clouds are expected. And this is not the high resolution one. This is the one we typically use on air. And it shows that we have scattered showers, some thunderstorms possible Tuesday, matching that on Wednesday. And each one of those thunderstorms that comes down the east slopes of the Cascades, when they're working their way up the 97 corridor south to north, they could be really impacting us between 5 and 7 during the evening commute and during the evening hours. And then by Thursday, lower risk of thunderstorm activity. By Friday, we start to get back to sunshine. So let's look at a different forecast model just to compare and contrast. This is the GFS. It's a global forecasting model, and it's run by the National Weather Service, but it's not as high of resolution. Now, this one does show that potential of showers with some thunderstorms the next couple of days. Where you're seeing the yellows, it's not as red as the other forecast model. By Thursday, it pretty much wraps that up, puts it over eastern Oregon, and so that's why we have the lower risk of thunderstorm activity. But by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we are back to sunshine, back to heating as well. An afternoon breeze is still becoming gusty at times. Then by this time next week, we have a little bit more cloud cover rolling in. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., most of us get wet. Some of us just catch a few sprinkles, and a few thunderstorms are possible. Two different forecast models are pretty much showing that. Meanwhile, when it comes to winds, gusts at the moment are between 15 and 20 miles per hour. Actual wind speeds, more like 10 to 15 miles per hour across central Oregon. So a little breezy, not too bad, but also a very light breeze across the high desert, just picking up at times. Next couple of hours, that does pick up a little bit, but through Tuesday, not too bad. Through Wednesday, breezy at times, not bad at all. It's going to be if any thunderstorms develop, where they develop, that's where it's going to be gusty. So for tonight, 50s with a few 40s and 60s out there. By tomorrow, another round of 90s, a few triple digits and 80s expected. Now, going forward through the 7-day planner, we do have a dip in temperatures through Thursday. By Friday, under more sunshine, we turn it right back around, still in the 90s. Back above average for this time of the year and running unseasonably warm through most of the 7-day planner. 4 out of the next 7 days have a chance of thunderstorm activity. And when we just focus on our weather headlines for this Monday, July 13th, storm potential is in the planner. Now, it's going to be gusty around any of that thunderstorm activity, otherwise gusty at times, but a modest midweek dip in temperatures is in the planner, and summertime heat stays with us across central Oregon. But as of right now, we've just had some in and out clouds, close to showers, pretty much removed from central Oregon, and it looks like it's going to stay that way until tomorrow afternoon. So that is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. We'll see you then.